What's going on, guys? It is the Week 13 recap, the end of the regular season, and I am so pumped to be in the losers bracket. Ugh, just tastes gross coming out of my mouth. So let's take a look at Week 13. Now that Monday's games have played and Tuesday's games have played and whatever. Guess who got the highest score of the week? The guy who played against me. Always. It's fantastic. Yeah, good job, Barrett. Barrett started from the bottom. Now he's here in the playoffs. Well done, man. Um, had a rough start to the year, but man, came out on top. Just about every single person on Barrett's team did amazing. So well done, sir. Um, yeah, there was nothing I could do. I did leave points on the bench. Not a good coaching week for me. But even still, nothing I could have done this week. So well done, dude. It's pretty clear that the trades that I made this year kind of came back to bite me in the butt this week. So that's unfortunate. Pretty bummed about that. But other than that, I mean, really not a whole lot. So good job, Barrett. 152.86 kicked my ass. I had the third lowest score of the week. You had the highest score. That's going to happen every time. Um, Check Casher beats Thunder Blender to secure their spot in the playoffs. So well done there. Horn Dogs beats Don't Panic to secure the first round bye. Beats them handedly too, 132 to 81. Well done, sir. Uh, Making those playoffs, getting that first round bye. Good job, old man. Tons of Anarchy against the Walking Dead. This game didn't matter at all. The Walking Dead wins by 8 points. Didn't matter. Didn't change anything. Tons of Anarchy still gets the first round bye. Habanos beat This League is a Breeze to make the playoffs. This League is a Breeze. I don't know what happened to your team, Zach. Wow. 54 points, dude. Oh, wow. Um, I mean, Habanos had like the sixth lowest score, I think, and he just scored like right in the middle, and ends up getting a win out of it. Dude, and even like Zach's bench just had nothing to show for. Like, couldn't have helped you at all. Um, was in, oh wow, that's a brutal week, dude. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, you'll be in the constellation with the rest of us, and Habanos makes the playoffs. Um, John Wilson gets a good win, narrowly escaping Mad Dogs to make the playoffs. 7 point victory there. Um, Mad Dogs could have won, I think, if they had played Gasicki. But I mean, then again, like Tyler Boyd and Jameson Crowder on the bench for John Wilson could have improved it. So, not the best of coaching from either team, but John Wilson gets a win out of it. Thankfully, those coaching mistakes didn't cost you. So well done, sir. And so let's take a look at the season recap. So regular season recap. I'm going to be finalizing finances today, and I'll send that out in this email. So you guys have the link to those. No more finance changes for the rest of the season. So any IR movement you want to do is free. Um, Make sure if you're going into the playoffs and you want more money added to your fab, like Chris, check casher, you've got like $1. We are going to allow ad drops through the playoffs due to COVID and just the overall injury landscape of the season. So um, go ahead and do that. Um, the transaction changes that we made obviously did nothing for our ability to pick up players on Sunday. ESPN just fucking sucks. I hate ESPN. We will not be using them next year. Um, they're awful. So because we can't, I guess we can't do pickups on Sundays, which sucks, or Mondays. So guys, I'm sorry about that, but that's just is how the platform is. Um, so let's see. Let's take a look at the season recap. So a couple of things that I thought were very, very telling of this season, and I guess it's kind of true of every season, but especially of this season with COVID and with like the injuries and stuff. So when I look at the players who utilize the IR slot the most, so if I go into the this thing right here, sorry, I'm just didn't have this one up. So the teams that use the IR slot the least were Mad Dogs. They're in the playoffs. Oh no, no, Mad Dogs didn't make the playoffs. Tons of Anarchy only used it once. He's got the number one seed. Chet Casher only used it twice. They're in the playoffs. Horn Dogs didn't use it at all. Number one seed. Um, so I thought that was really interesting to see like these teams that really didn't utilize it much making the playoffs. But then you also have teams that did use it that made the playoffs, like John Wilson, the ghost of Steve Largent. He used it the most, 13 times, and he was able to make the playoffs. So just seeing that kind of dichotomy, I thought was really interesting. Also seeing like the overall number of moves. I mean, Mad Dogs only made 5 moves. They didn't make the playoffs. But then you've got teams like Habanos making 31 moves and they make the playoffs. I had the most at 39 moves and did not make the playoffs. Um, so interesting to see kind of that whole scenario. But the biggest telling thing about like, hey, do you make the playoffs or do you not, is the difference between your points scored versus your points scored against you. So points against, I had the most at 1632. And I only ranked like fifth in points for. There was a difference of just over 200 points. There's a gap of 200 points there, and so that's why I didn't make the playoffs. But yet you look at John Wilson, he outscored his points against by 50. He makes the playoffs. Horn Dogs outscores it by 200. He makes the playoffs. Chet Casher outscores it by 100. He makes the playoffs. Tons of Anarchy outscores it by only 30, and he makes the playoffs. Um, all 4 of those teams had the 4 lowest points against. Same thing with Habanos, 5th lowest points against. He did not outscore his points against, yet he still makes the playoffs because he had the 5th lowest points against. So the team that I think has done the best in spite of everything against all the odds is Barrett. I mean, Barrett has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th highest points against at 1410, but he also had the largest points for. He has scored the most points this season at almost 1,600 points. He made 18 moves. He utilized that IR slot only 4 times. Like Barrett's just had a really great season. So it's nice to see the rookie coming up and making some moves here, man. So well done, Barrett. Um, so anyway, so let's take a look at that's the season recap. Horn Dogs finishes regular season with the best score, 9-4. We had 3 teams finish at 8-5, 2 teams at 7-6, 2 teams at 6-7, 3 teams at 5-8, and Thunder Blender has the worst record at 4-9. I had to throw that out there, Eric. I'm sorry, I just had to. So when we look at the playoff picture, I modified the playoff brackets. So now when you go into looking at the playoff matchups, it is correct. Horn Dogs and Tons of Anarchy get the first round bye. Horn Dogs will face off against the winner of the Armchair Quarterback Division wildcard matchup. So that's Chet Casher going against Steve Largent. When we look at that matchup, as of right now, it's looking like Chet Casher has the edge. The line on this right now is at 7.3 points. Mostly because James Conner's listed as out, but no, he's got a projected total there, so that's fine. So we'll see what happens with James Conner and Curtis Samuel. Both were out this last week. Who knows what happens this week? Maybe Curtis Samuel comes back with the bye. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Then we look at the next matchup. Tons of Anarchy is going to face off against the wild card winner in the coach. What do we have? Armchair quarterbacks and coaching potatoes, I think. Couch potatoes. division. Habanos against Better Than the Jets. And when we look at that matchup, uh, Better Than the Jets is definitely favored, a 39-point favorite in this matchup here. Um, Really no injuries to speak of when we look at this matchup here. Let me refresh. Let's see if I can get. Nope, not getting those. Not getting those. Yeah, so 39-point favorite. No big injuries to speak of. So we'll see if Habanos can pull it out. I mean, like I said, Habanos did not have a very high scoring season, whereas Barrett just crushed it. So we'll see if Barrett continues his streak of 100 plus weeks. I think it's like 6 or 7 weeks he scored over 100 points. He's projected at 125 right now. Um, so interested to see how that goes. Then we've got the losers bracket. So because ESPN is a real piece of shit, we can't do the losers bracket the way that we normally would want to. So we're doing like a round robin here to see. Basically, consolation game 9 is the championship of the consolation bracket, if that's what you want to call it. The idea of the consolation bracket is to see who is the absolute worst team. And so what would ideally happen is that the loser would advance into the next round. So we're going to do that by saying that game 9 is the loser game. Because what that would do is the second round, it would put the loser of Walking Dead and Don't Panic and the loser of Thunder Blender MFCEO. Both of these are like the bottom tier groupings. Um, and then from those two, whoever loses that game would go into game 9. So we'll say that the whoever loses game 9 is going to be the big loser. But yeah, so we've got Breeze against Mad Dogs in their division, Thunder Blender against MFCEO in their division, and then we have an interdivisional game, Walking Dead against Don't Panic. Both teams are 5-8, and actually quite evenly matched when you look at them. Very similar points against there, if I remember correctly, or points for, I should say. So yeah, so only separated by about 70 points on the season. So we'll see how that goes, man. Should be good. Should be fun. Again, we're going to continue waivers through the playoffs. So if you need more money on your fab, please let me know. When I look at the budget, we've got several teams under $10. Check Casher and Tons of Anarchy are only at $1. And Barrett, you're at $7. So if you guys want to add some more money to your fab, please let me know. Pay via PayPal, notify me, and I'll get it added. Before those get processed tomorrow, we should be, I think we just had some get processed this morning. Let me make sure that that's actually happened. Recent activity. Yes, we just had some get processed, so that's good. All right, cool. Let me know, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.